So through 2 preseason games, Anthony Edwards has not been setting the world on fire. I don't know the exact numbers, but they're not exactly eye-catching, if you will. So I took a look at all the minutes he's played, or most of them at least, and I've noticed a few things. His 2 main problems on offense are, number 1, he's not being used enough. Number 2, he's got a tendency to take some bad three-pointers. Let's start with the not being used enough. Basically explains itself. There's D'Angelo Russell pick and rolls, there's karl-anthony Towns post-ups, there's Ricky Rubio pick and rolls, and throughout a lot of it, Edwards is just standing in the corner watching it all happen. Now, you could be like, well, shouldn't Edwards force his way into plays a little bit? I mean, he can go for some more offensive rebounds, and maybe there's an extra cut or something he can do occasionally, but a lot of the time, he's really just standing there. And I think it's Ryan Saunders' responsibility to get him more involved. I honestly would not be shocked if Ryan Saunders was fired this year, because there does seem to be more of a pressure for this team to win right now. And if they're not so good 30 or 40 games in, I just wouldn't be surprised if he's gone. Now, the other thing with Edwards, though, is when he has been incorporated in the offense a little bit more, he's had some success. There have been a couple of handoff plays. There was one specifically I remember where Edwards, he got a handoff from the corner or the elbow, and then it led into a screen from Towns, and Edwards was able to get a pretty good left-handed dribble going towards the rim, and I'm pretty sure he just finished it with a layup or whatever. He's had a couple others where he's drawn contact. Edwards has been pretty okay with going into the body of the rim protector in order to draw the foul. He's not evading the defender too often. I guess there was one lefty layup where he kind of did that, and it was a miss, but I think if you just help him get downhill, he can have a lot of success around the rim and all that. Now, that being said, he also has had some pick-and-roll possessions where big guys are dropping on him, and he's very quick to go into the pull-up jumper. And I think he made one of them, but most of them have been misses, or it's been like a floater that hasn't been too good. So we'll have to see if in those situations he either keeps the dribble alive and then dumps it off to the big guy who's rolling or popping if it's Towns, or maybe he just takes that space that the big is dropping from and just keeps going to the rim, because I do think, again, he can really get a lot of contact and a lot of free throw trips. So we'll see with that. As far as the contested threes, he simply has to stop taking them. Now, this was a bit of a thing going into or coming off of his year in college. He took a lot of threes. His percentage wasn't too good. He was streaky. Some games he was awesome. Some games he wasn't. And I mean, his form seems all right, and I think he can be a good catch-and-shoot, open three-point shooter, but there's been a lot of threes in 2 games where it's early in the shot clock, maybe middle of the possession or whatever. He gets a screen from a guy, and he just hoists it up right away. I mean, the first shot he attempted was an airball contested 3 with 12 seconds left in the shot clock, so he's got to clean that stuff up. And to go back to the original point, I think getting him more involved and giving him more opportunities to have the ball going downhill will stop some of those possessions. They did have a cut play where Edwards was the inbounder and Rubio set a screen for him and it resulted in an open layup, so that type of stuff as well. Now, as I say all of this, I think Edwards still needs to improve a bit as a ball handler. He has possessions where he looks good, like he comes off of a screen and he's got a low lefty dribble going on and it seems all pretty natural and fluid. And then there's been other times where his dribble looks a little high or he almost kind of goes faster than the ball, if you will. Now that being said, he also had one hesitation dribble where he froze, I think it was Valanciunas in place and then went right by him for a layup. So the potential's there with the handle, but it's certainly not good enough right now. He also has a tendency sometimes when he finally gets the ball to dribble it for 5 seconds and then pass it off to somebody. So he can be a little bit of a ball stopper. He also has had a couple times where he tries to make too big of a play where whether it's a pass in transition that was behind a guy or he's got a potential layup or something, then he dishes it off to the big man too late, or there was another time where he got a rebound and then as he was dribbling up court, he basically just dribbled into traffic and lost the handle, and it was a free turnover for the other team. So those are rookie mistakes to me. Those are things that with just more minutes and more watching of film and stuff, he can figure that type of stuff out. The ball handling is a little different. That's something he really just needs to get better at. So if he can correct some of those decisions, as well as not hoist up contested threes with like 12 seconds left on the shot clock, then I think he can be helping himself out a lot. Now, as I talk about the passing, there was also one really, really good pass where he got it to D'Lo in the corner, and it was just this moment of like, maybe this guy does have something there, and he just kind of needs to figure it out a little bit. If we talk about Edwards on defense, similar to his offense, it's up and down. He has had some great possessions. He's had a couple of one-on-one possessions against Ja Morant where he's looked good. He had a couple possessions where somebody ISO'd him on the corner and he beat them to the baseline and they were forced to pass the ball back out. He had one great chase down block. He's also had a couple other contests at the rim that were pretty good. But he's also fallen asleep quite a few times, and it's led to guys getting open threes. Sometimes he's just kind of standing a little too far away from the corner, but he's not really protecting the rim either. And then that leads to like Grayson Allen getting a three. Now, even with all that, I will say Edwards, through most of the possessions, did an okay job of closing out to the shooter, which I guess makes sense given that the guy's, pretty athletic and stuff. But that's still not going to work. So what does all that mean? Well, I think it means exactly what Edwards' coach at college said about him. He will very much be influenced by the team he ends up on. If it's a team full of players and coaches who are really going to hammer it home about defense and consistency, possession to possession and all that, and demanding professionalism from day one, then okay. If it's a team that's a little more in a process of figuring out who they are and that type of thing, which you could argue the T-Wolves are, then perhaps Edwards is going to pick up some bad habits. I think Ryan Saunders, as I mentioned earlier, I think we are going to learn now how good of a coach he is. I think the Wolves also getting so many wing players probably doesn't help out Edwards. Well, not necessarily wing players, but it's like D'Lo and Rubio are going to handle the ball more than him. Malik Beasley is going to at least want to shoot more than Edwards. Towns and D'Lo are definitely going to shoot more than he does. And if I can think about the Wolves as a whole team, I mean, offensively, you'd think they'd be all right. It's just they've got a bunch of one-way guys. They got a Kogi who they're probably going to need on defense. You got Hollis Jefferson, who they're also probably going to need on defense, but those guys don't give you much on offense. And it's like, well, no, it's kind of awkward. I feel like they need more two-way guys. And potentially they need a better coach. So we'll see how they do.